Yeah, I was just looking at their numbers. They've started 11 guys this year, and they don't extend. And you look at our innings, Pete's over 100 innings, 112 innings. You look at Mayhew, 70-ish. Spivey, one of their closers, has got their most innings at 74 innings. So I think they've done a great job of just utilizing their personnel, putting them in the right spots, not letting anybody be out there too long where they felt like they could, create some problems and then go into the next guy. So they've been a very balanced staff as far as number of pitchers that they're using.
How different does that make the work when you've got a lot more arms to go through than just a normal weekend rotation?
Yeah, it's not really different because we go through every one of their pitchers and we look at all their moves, their numbers, their sequencing, their repertoire. So we go through all of that. I think it's difficult at times for a hitter because you're not seeing a guy 3 and 4 times in a game. Very similar at times to a midweek game, where you're constantly seeing multiple pitchers and making adjustments. So I think you do that when you feel you have good arms but not great arms. And I think that's what's most impressive with what Cliff has done is he's taken above average arms and utilized them to win that league and to really be on a hell of a run. They've won 21, I think, out of their last 22.
Whether it be Nolan, Bryce, Ty, you've got number one guys who kind of serve as the voice of the pitching staff and lead the staff. How has Pete done that this year, and what's he done maybe a little bit differently than some of those other guys to help that group?
I think Pete is a typical left-handed pitcher. At times you think he's kind of in a different space, but he works very hard, and I think he leads by example. He can go philosophical as well, and he has such a feel of repeating his delivery. I think for young pitchers and guys that struggle need to watch his the ability to just repeat and not try to do too much. And so I think it's by example more so than verbal, but he's become much more verbal. He's a different type of leader than Ty. Ty could get in their face when he needed to. Pete's more of a guy that's a little more cerebral, a guy that just understands how to repeat and kind of talks to him about that.
You mentioned, I think, on Saturday or Sunday that you have basically the whole staff come up and say, hey, I can throw, use me. Is he kind of in that same thing? Like, he may pitch 120 on Friday, but he wants to go Sunday?
Well, yeah, I talked to him, just messing with him in the dugout, and I said, if we go to an if necessary, you got 3 to 6 outs in you. And he said, Coach, I got 6 innings. And so that's great to hear because they want to win. They want to advance. And there's a big picture for them, but they want to be in this moment. They want to win.
Kind of going off that, Tristan, is he a guy that you'd feel comfortable that he could bounce back if he pitched on Friday, he could pitch on Saturday, possibly on Sunday if necessary?
I think he pitched 4 out of 5 in the conference tournament, and he's very good at that role. I just think he can bounce back mentally, just physically where is he. So if he goes an extended outing on Friday, I think you got to be cautious on Saturday because he'll go, but it just won't be as sharp. So it's just number of pitches, kind of how much stress, and then situation the next day.
After that LA Tech game, you talked about how Tristan came up to you and texted you like he can come and play for you in any role that you want him to play in. Just so, what are some of the intangibles that Tristan gives to this team?
Oh man, so many. If you look at Tristan's history when he got here, he wasn't comfortable in his delivery. He'd come off of an injury. He was still trying to figure out who he is. Didn't know if he was a slider guy or if he was a change-up guy, sinker guy. And so he's really gotten to that point where he knows who he is. And the ability to prep if he's starting, which he learned a year ago, and then to get back into a more comfortable role for him and coming in tough situations and coming in on the back end is something that he does in his mental prep, but physically he's in great shape. And so I think more than anything, he takes care of his body. He understands nutrition. So yeah, he's just kind of built right for whatever role. He doesn't have a limitation in his mind. You know, we have to watch the ball and decide it's time to get him out because mentally he can go forever.
Kind of along that, I mean, watch that Coastal game. They started a guy who threw on Friday. Do y'all feel like your endurance and conditioning wise, y'all are in a good shape? Like you had Pete go for a long outing and didn't use Marcus, and you think you're in a good shape pitching wise with how much you've used guys?
We didn't have to disrupt our schedule for the regional, and we really didn't disrupt our schedule for the conference tournament. And so when you look at that, guys being able to stay on schedule, Pete do his normal bullpen, normal Friday night. Same thing with Lucas. The third starter, the third game has been a little hit and miss anyhow. And so nobody's extended there. We threw Zane and Nixon yesterday in our inner squad, and they were lights out. And so they have a little bit in their mouth because they didn't get to compete in the regional, and that's a great sign. There's two guys right there with as good as stuff on our team. Souther being able to go 3 innings and build that confidence, and Ollie doing what he's doing in his role has been awesome. But I think more than anything, we haven't been disrupted at all. So it's going to be a 3-game series for us.
Since you guys have to go on the road, how do some of those tough road environments, I guess Tech comes to mind, that you play in conference, how do those prepare you for a big moment like this where the crowd's going to be going nuts?
Well, this place is going to be very similar to TCU as far as how the stadium sits. It's going to sit on top of you. The dugouts are very close to the field. It's a quick infield. You have an outfield fence that's 5 feet, maybe 6 feet tall, that people are hanging over it. The bullpens are open. People are hanging over them. So the environment's going to be even different than anything we've been in. It's like being in that type of environment on steroids. If it's TCU, Texas Tech, and put it on steroids, and everything that they say you hear. I've been there many a times, had players have beer thrown on them, had security issues in the bullpen. They really don't care. They call themselves the jungle and they act like it.
David, what are your thoughts on the ECU lineup? I think everybody except for Perry was impressed with that home run on Monday. Just thoughts on that lineup?
I just looked at their numbers. I always do a comparison because it gives me a feel of what the other team does well. And you look through their offensive numbers, very similar to ours. Of course, our home run numbers, and I think we've hit 40 more doubles. Our stolen bases percentage and number are very similar. Team defense is very similar. They have speed and they're gonna take bags when you give it to them. Very similar to us. But then the power guys are, I think they're true power guys, and that offense has a balance to it very similar to what we do. The thing that's been more impressive than anything when I look at the minimum film, and I haven't gotten deep yet, coaches have, but the minimum film is how good their defense is on that surface. And their defense and pitching is very similar to ours as far as numbers go.
Coach, the entire team has to raise the bar. I mean, Auburn at a very high level, but going into this super regional, they have to step it up even more. What does it look like for the coaches and what you do to step it up? Because you're coaching, right? So what does that look like from your world?
I don't even know what that means. I mean, my world is the same every single day when it comes to prep, when it comes to competition. So, I mean, It's kind of like Bobby Knight back in the day putting the game face on. It doesn't change. I mean, we rest when we're done. That's what July is for. So really, it's business as usual. I really don't look at it any different. Now, the stakes are different, you know. You win, you advance, you lose, you're done. But you can't coach like that. I think you just do the same thing we've always done. If you watch our practice today, it's going to be a typical Wednesday practice.
David, going back to something you just said, do you have to give your guys, pep talk's the wrong word, but do you have to sit these guys down and say, these people are insane, they spill beer on you? Do you have to?
Okay, so yesterday in our team meeting, basically gave them a geographical lesson of Greenville, North Carolina. The university's got close to 30,000. The entire town is a college town. It will be purple and gold everywhere we go. They will hate us. They've never had the University of Texas there. If you move into their stadium, talk about the dimensions, talk about the proximity and how it sits, how close it is. We talk about everything we just talked about with the fan base. Then you get into the team. Cliff is a very aggressive coach. He's going to fight really hard for his team. They play very hard. They're very loud in the dugout. They dictate a couple of guys to be kind of their energy guys. You can see them. It's part of their plan. Their fans are going to live and die on every single pitch, from the first pitch to the last pitch. They're going to be in the umpire's grill every single pitch. So with all that being said, we got to play baseball and just focus on our job and do what we always do. You can't look up. And once you look up, you've been distracted. So it's just kind of setting the stage for them to understand what we're going into, so they're prepared when they see something like that. Like I said, I've been there many, many times. It's a really cool town, college town. It's a really cool baseball program, and Cliff has done a great job of building it.
Hey, Pirate Nation, this is former East Carolina pitcher Davey Penny of the Keith LeClaire era, class of 2003. Keep it tuned to the Sports Objective as you follow our Diamond Bucks on the road to Omaha, because y'all know we're going.